Hi guys. Today I want to discuss something that is very close to my heart, and it's just based on research which I've been doing on change. And every time I've been in various forums, and I never get enough time to exhaustively discuss this topic. So today I want to discuss it on my channel, and the discussion is about change, change in leadership. I think change is you usually say it's the only permanent thing. Why? Because we're always changing, things are always evolving, a lot of things happen in our lives, and even in our organizations at one point or the other, because we sometimes uh, are in a comfort zone, change comes to take us to the next level. So even right now, in Kenya, we are going through an election year. There's a lot of things that happen. So the change I want to talk about is the change in leadership, and the change in leadership. We usually say that uh, change in leadership, it sometimes happens. It has emotional impact. There's also the issue of J curve. There's an issue of the 8-step process of how to manage change, and change of management is not change of is change of leadership is not change of management, because change of management is how you guide and how to prepare, equip, and support individuals to successfully adapt to change in order to drive an organizational success or outcomes. But change in leadership is a different thing. Change in leadership is where you focus on the vision and influence people to be able to follow the vision. So, like now, what we have happening, we have like two kinds of leaders in Kenya. We have the Honorable Ruto, who wants to be president. We have Honorable Raila, who has to be president, and all of them have a vision of certain things. Like Ruto is talking about bottom up approach. Mr. Raila is talking about delivering more services to the community, but his approach is different from Ruto's division. So depending on who becomes president, then they're going to be able to try and implement the things that they have actually shared with us as a electorate. Yeah, Ruto will want to give more money to the common mwananchi, where he'll get that money, the funding he'll borrow from abroad or whether it's locally. It will have an impact in the environment and our economy, but it will have an impact also on the people on the ground. Raila is more focused on healthcare to make sure that everybody gets healthcare in Kenya, and of course he's also focusing on the youth, because the youth are the major drivers of the economy, and because we have a huge population of young people in our country. So those two are talking about different issues, but it's just about ideology and policy. And my prayer is that Kenya has is developed. We've developed enough to be able to take up, not to be able to feel the issue of tribalism as an issue, but to bring up leaders who probably will be able to help our country go forward. We must mention that Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta has done an extremely good job in the infrastructure. We know we have a huge debt to pay in our country, which is also going to be a burden to us for the next generation to come. I saw in the newspaper that we were unable to meet our we've fallen back in paying our debts to China, which means it has a lot of implications in our economy. But then, all having said all that, so the thing I want to discuss is the issue of change. Whatever change there is, and remember, I'm talking about change of leadership. One, there is always an emotional impact and change. Why currently, right now, where we are, and I'll keep going back to our elections. We a lot of people are saying a lot of things. Oh, Honorable Ruto is very corrupt. Oh, Raila he's an old man. A lot of things that come into play. But everything that happens when there's change. John Fisher discusses change, the process of transition from change. So what happens is there's a curve, and the curve says first people are anxious because we're anxious. We are coming to new leadership, so there's anxiety. There are people who are, and then from anxiety comes to happiness, and from happiness comes fear. The people are excited that there's new change, and comes to fear. The people who are going to say, no, this can happen. Like some people, maybe foreigners are wrapping up their stuff and going back to their country because they're fearing that Africa can never be a proper democracy. There's fear that comes up, the threats that come into play, and some of people during this change, that people are feeling guilty because there's a lot of abuse back and forth or alliances that are happening. Like I was saying, Mother Karua is supposed to be didn't show up in an Azimio meeting, so the guys are thinking probably she's in what she's in UDA party anxiety. So a lot of things are coming into play. But all that is because we are fearing change. We don't know what will happen. People are anxious. But that's okay. But and again, any change has an impact in terms of emotional issues. So I've talked about John Fisher's curve, where we talk about anxiety, happiness, then comes fear, then there's threat, then there's guilt, there's depression, there's gradual acceptance of change, and then finally you moving forward. There's also another concept of change where you see the J curve change, where we have the plateau, and then you have the cliff where it goes down, then ascending, then before you get to on the mountaintop. So that's also change. When you introduce change, people are in a plateau. So when you say, like for example, when you say, I want to change our model of doing things in our country, guys are in a plateau. So guys, they are resistance. Guys, there's going to be resistance. So what happens is a curve. The people who are not going to play ball, they're going to refuse to play ball completely. Then they realize, this change is happening. So they gradually start to accept the change, and before you know, hopefully you take guys to the mountaintop. So how do you navigate and make sure change happens? Yeah, this is the topic. How do you navigate and make sure change happens, whether it's in your organization, in your chama, in your business, and stuff like that. That's now where I want to talk about. Remember, the emotions that come into play. There is resistance. Yeah, there's resistance. There are people who refuse to comply. The emotions that come in, fear of feeling that this is not good for us. Yeah, so and all that is part of fear, and that's discussed very well in the J curve. Now, how do you manage change? This is the critical part. How do you manage change to make sure this change happens? There are the 8 stages approach to managing change. And this is where the gist of the matter of change is. 1, create a sense of urgency. I mean, any change has to have a sense of urgency. If there's no urgency, people will drag on. For example, if you bring change and say, we'll have this change in the next year, there's no sense of urgency. So people will lag behind and not be in a hurry. So there has to be a sense of urgency. This thing has to be changed now. And remember, like even what Uhuru Kenyatta started saying when he had an issue with a lady who had an issue with the Boda Boda guys who harassed her. She said, we have to register the Boda Boda community. Now, what happened when she said that? Of course, police started harassing the Boda Boda guys. There was the poor implementation on how to make that happen. But he already made the decree, so things had to happen. So once you have the decree taken, it's urgent. The issue, every time you have an accident, Boda Boda guys come on around you and they have issues. So you have to change that whole issue so that people we don't have a mob society where the Boda Boda guys have a lot of influence on their community that people fear them. Yeah. So there's that change, urgency. Okay. Now, you have to build a team around that change, and that's what the president said. We'll build a team, and he called the Minister of Internal Affairs to be able to build a team to be able to see that change, that transition from where we are to somewhere else. Okay, now that team will guide the vision. The vision is already there, so the team will be able to guide the vision. This is what the president wants to do. So he's formed a team of people to be able to help him get there. All right. So that team is supposed to be able to help. Now, the team has to communicate buying. Now, this is where the issue happens. We have the Boda Boda communities that live their livelihood is on food and shelter is deliveries. Now, the police have come in and have started harassing these Boda Boda guys. So these Boda Boda guys are not able to work and they're unable to feed their family. So there's already a sort of a challenge. How do you do this? Yet, the vision is clear. You introduce these people. Why? Because you need to be able to have them accountable. It's a good vision, but the implementation was the issue. So form a committee, bring in the Buddha guys on that platform. Right? The purpose for that is for them to be able also to be part of the team that's going to be able to help implement this clear vision of registration and to know where the rogue Buddha guys are, the thugs who have infiltrated that industry. So form a team. Once you form a team, now communicate that vision to the community. This is what we want to do, and the president did an extremely good job to do that, and he's a very good orator. Now, after that, is empower the team to be able to implement the changes that you have envisaged or seen. So get a team. So empower them. So they come with the recommendations. The recommendations have to embrace. Now, anytime there is a short successes towards that change, always applaud them. Now, what happens? For example, I saw the governor of or the lady in charge of Nairobi City had a meeting with the Buddha Buddha guys and said, yes, this is a very good idea. We're going back to be able to start implementing the process, and they were very excited. Those are short changes, so short successes which need to be broadcasted for people to see, oh, this thing can actually work, because you're not going back to the issue of mob justice of anytime there's an accident. Buddha Buddha gays cause mob people. No, that's not going to happen. So we need to be able to know which are the wrong guys. So once we do that, we start being able to celebrate whenever there's successes in any area that has what we're implementing that change. So whether it's a small section of Buddha Buddha guys who probably registered a delivery app to record those pics, you as an excitement you record that. So you continuously implement, shout out for any changes, any successes that has happened in that environment. However, and then the other thing that is very critical for change is that you need to stick to the vision. You cannot go back. Like for example, I think when there's a whole issue of Uhuru's guys have been harassed, the policemen have taken advantage, they're making a lot of money from the Buddha Buddha guys, because sometimes it started with once you're arrested, you pay 35,000. Now we have to. The president said, "No, I'm calling up this issue for us to rethink. You can't go back. You can't recede on your vision. It has to happen. It's just that now we need to be able to find a way of making it happen so that now people can be able to embrace. When people see that this change is permanent, it's going to happen, they start to comply. Now, the emotional issues of fear, it's now they say, oh, maybe this is a good thing. We just need to know how to implement it. So that's how change happens. So anytime there's change, there's of course there's a positive part, there's a negative part of change. A lot of things happen. There's opportunities, but what I usually say, and I've said this in the Wema TV, is that anytime there's change, there's opportunity for business. So you as a business owner is to look at where is the opportunity for that change. For example, there's new leadership coming into play. New political alliances are going to come into play. So how are you, as a businessman, are you going to align so that maybe if Ruto's party comes to play, are you going to be able to get government contracts? Are you going to be getting deals from that government, that leadership? Or if it's Azimio that's going to come into play, how are you going to align yourself to make sure that you get those government contracts? There are crazy amounts that come into play. I mean, like now, if you broker a deal like the one for SGS, and you're the person who's found the funds for the country, and you get a simple commission like what this guy Safina was talking about. He was very influential in getting the deal for SGS. Can you imagine the commission? You get 0.3% of that commission, and the country is going to be paying that money for the rest of our lives. But you, as a business owner, have been able to get a commission for finding that money for Kenya. So you need to align yourself. So change is permanent, but you as a business owner, and this is the critical part, is to look at this change is going to happen. Embrace change in your mind. Just know that change will happen. For example, we didn't know that after Corona, which has hit us like crazy, and for us, we survived. We didn't survive. Actually, made money through the COVID season because we rode on the opportunities that was there, the opportunity of masks, the opportunity of sanitizers, and beyond that, delivery business has become the thing, convenience, because people are now staying in the house. So it's a big opportunity for us. So now, Russia and Ukraine are fighting, probably going to the second one. Hopefully, we hope it's not going to get to a third world war, but they're fighting. Now, it has affected the world economy. The dollar is gone up. There's essential oils that we cannot get in the country. Yeah, because it happened now. Suddenly, boom, something else is happening. The president wakes up in the morning and says, these Boda Boda guys have to have an issue. We have to deal with them. Change. There's an election coming in a few months. Change. There was an earthquake in Taiwan. Change. So as a businessman, you need to be able to know this will happen, prepare for change, have a strategy for change. For example, you don't know if today, for example, let's say if Raila becomes president, how will be the reaction of people in Rift Valley? They might start having issues. So are you in a position to be able to know what to do in such a situation? Or if Ruto becomes president, what happens? What will the reaction? I think one of the things that I like that Raila has done very well is say there will not be any chaos. He won't have caused any chaos. We need to hear that from the president Ruto, yeah, so that he'll be able to calm his people in case he loses. Our democracy is going to other stages. So, but the thing I'm trying to emphasize here is that change is inevitable. It's part of our life. Yeah. Now, you as a business owner need to be able to have that in mind and see how do I implement change in my organization to be able for people to rally behind me. That's one, two, and to be able to know that change will happen anyway. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Change will happen anyway. So it's for you to be able to know that. So plan in your organization, create a sense of urgency, build a team that will be able to help you have that positive change. Let them guide the vision as you have implemented. Let's get a buy-in, proper communication to the people in terms of what that change will do for them. Empower the leadership, the team that is going to implement that change. Any short wins, make sure that you're shouting out about them, and then don't let up the push for change. Change has to happen. You have to stick to the vision of that, of what you want to implement, and make sure that you follow through. And when you follow through, eventually, people embrace that change. So I think that's basically it. So as a business owner, have that strategy. If you whatever you're implementing, use that those 8 steps. Know that anytime there's change, there are people who are going to be anxious. It doesn't matter whether it's a good thing. People will be anxious. People will have fear. People will feel guilty. Some of them will refuse to be part of that change, and they leave the organization. But that's part of the business. And then, but just process, because the only thing that is permanent and has to be permanent is change. Because if it's one thing, then something else happens. So embrace change. Be the person who always look at what are the new things that we need to bring into the fold that can be able to improve your organization or your business. Thank you, and God bless. I hope that has been helpful. I think it's a whole series, but I'd like to just share that in my chapter in my podcast, that you're able to hear how I felt, because I think this topic is very, very relevant in this season. Thank you, and God bless.